Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast, your home for all things Washington Commanders. My name is LE. I got Mike here from Southwest, as he's
Yep.
affectionately known on Twitter. We got Eric, Mr. 40 States in 40 Days here. What's up, Eric? What's up, Mike?
Mike from Southwest, only ever been to the Southeast. That's what we just learned.
And Vegas.
In Vegas.
I'm good, man. I'm happy. I know it's a cloud over the training camp at the moment, but we still gonna have a good time and ball out, y'all. Don't worry.
We're gonna talk a lot about training camp tonight. Let's jump right into that. Eric, you're Mr. Terry McLaurin. You're close personal friends with the man. What's going on with this contract situation? Are we still in keep calm and watch football levels of concern, or have we elevated things a bit at all? Where are you at with it?
Well, my sources tell me absolutely nothing because I have no sources, but I'm still not overly concerned. I think something will get done in the next week or so. If we're back here next week still talking about it, my concern level is going to go up. But right now, early in camp, we're still 6 weeks away from any kind of meaningful football game. I'm not sweating it at all right now. But that's just me. How do you guys feel?
Well, I mean, in truth, the team holds all the cards in this scenario, right? Because Terry's under contract this year. You could theoretically franchise tag him next year. It would pay him top 5 at the wide receiver market. But I still think that would be less than the $30 million, or would be right at $30 million or so that he's asking for. And you could, they could essentially franchise their way through the rest of his career if they wanted to. You know what I mean? There's literally no pressure for the team to get a deal done here because they have him under control. Even if his contract is over, they can control him for 2 years. And at that point, he's 33 and you're like, or 32, and you're like, thanks for your services, right? If they really want to be that team. Now, I don't think they want to be that team, to be clear, but they kind of hold the cards here, you know?
I don't know. I see zero scenario where Terry McLaurin gets franchised. I can see a trade maybe if things just come to a complete impasse and we start moving into camp. But at that point, if we start talking trade, I think Terry McLaurin holds the cards because as you get closer and closer to the season, your team loses less and less leverage, and you're talking about like a 4th or 5th round pick for Terry McLaurin, and that was a nightmare scenario for the team. But I don't think we're anywhere near that yet. I still think he'll be in here sooner than later.
Well, I think, let me say this clearly. I think Terry will be here and they will get something done. But if it's a trade scenario, which is not going to happen, but if it were that scenario, I still think the team holds the cards because Terry's not going to sit out a year if he doesn't get traded, right? He's too old for that. He would be giving up one of his few prime seasons left. And I'm not sure that, right now in the open market, are you getting a first for Terry McLaurin from teams?
No.
Off the rip, right? I don't know. Terry's worth a first to me. He's worth a first to us.
No.
But are you getting a first to Terry? Yeah.
And that's the problem right there. We know too much about Terry. And when I say we, I'm mainly talking about the fans and the media, not the organization, the fans and the media. We've seen him go through a lot since he's gotten here since in 2019. He's been under Gruden, he's been under Callahan, Rivera, and now Quinn. So we saw the stuff that he has to deal with. But unfortunately, the fact of the matter is that not only is he older, but quite frankly, there's been times where he hasn't delivered the way the team has needed him to deliver. And it sucks for me to say that because, again, I know how important he is. I know in those times where he didn't deliver, there were other times where he did deliver. So it really is a catch, well, not a catch-22, but I say both sides have very strong arguments in their repertoire as to why they deserve or offer what they are offering or asking for. And I'm not saying it's going to get ugly, but I could easily see this lasting throughout the entire training camp now, because when he left mini camp, I kind of figured all hell was about to break loose, and I'm not surprised that we're where we are right now with this contract negotiation.
Yeah, and I like to your point. Like I was thinking up some comps of trade. Like AJ Brown got traded for a first and a third, but AJ Brown was 25, right? And going into the peak and prime of his career. DK Metcalf is what, 27, I think it is. DK Metcalf just got traded for a second round pick and a seventh round pick, and the Steelers got back a sixth round pick. You see what I mean? So, like, by that, and DK Metcalf got a new deal, and Terry would need a new deal too after the trade. So, by that, like, even right now, you're not getting a first for Terry McLaurin, right? Off the rip. He's worth the first to us, be clear, but you're not getting that on the trade market. One of the things that Jeremy Fowler from ESPN also said on another show was that the Commanders are comfortable right now because they don't like the wide receiver market and what the salaries are driving there. So they're in no hurry to get this deal done. We all think Terry needs to be playing. Terry's a veteran, right? And he's been through these camps before. He's very familiar with the offense. The other thing is maybe Peter says, let's see what Deebo does, right? As our primary focus of the offense, and then figure out what we got from there. I don't know that to be true. I'm just putting it out there. I think a Terry deal gets done before the second week of training camp, though. That's what I think.
I would agree.
Yeah. All right. Von Miller. We didn't get a chance to touch on this last time. If you guys caught that video I put out last time, my bad. I said Ricky Fowler. Moving on. I was talking about Dante Fowler, right? Really being a guy that I think you can draw some similarities to with the Von Miller signing. Mike, how you feel about the Von Miller signing in general?
I love it. Honestly, I can say that he was probably the top pick based on who was available left at edge rusher, and I loved it. And since it's been announced, hearing them talk, hearing him say why he came, it just makes me feel that much better about the signing. He says he knows Peters, of course, so he's comfortable with Peters. He says he knew Dan Quinn before he even knew him, just based off of what others have said about him. And the biggest thing, which is still kind of mind blowing, I'm trying to like accept the reality that we have an elite quarterback, at least at the moment. And he said, this is what he said. I just can't leave Josh Allen and go to any quarterback. And he said Jaden Daniels is a great quarterback, a good quarterback. And we're talking about a Bama that played with Peyton Manning. Who else? Matt Stafford and Josh Allen. And he's saying, I'm comfortable finishing my career with a second-year quarterback for Washington. Never would have thought that. So just check marks all over the place with this signing. We couldn't have done better, in my opinion, in July.
Powerful stuff, man, from what he said, too. And I think, like, Fowler had 10 sacks last year. I think Von Miller, in that situational role, like Fowler was, can do the exact same thing, if not a little bit more, if you will, right? I like the signing too. I mean, there's other ends out there like Zadarius Smith. I think somebody had brought up Zadarius Smith is better in the run game, I think, than he is as a pass rusher, but he sets the edge very well. I just think Von Miller sort of brings something, and that's execution in the sack game that a lot of the other free agent defensive ends don't do currently. So happy to get the help. We'll see how it plans out. I'm sure he'll have a lot of time off during training camp and some of these practices with vet days and all this other stuff to keep him fresh for the regular season. But I'm looking forward to it. Eric, do you have expectations for Von Miller this year?
No, I don't think so. But I'm excited to have him here. I think he's a great player. He's certainly not an every down defensive end or linebacker at this point in his career, but as a guy who's going to get like 15 or 20 snaps a game just coming off the edge, you could do a lot worse than Von Miller, even at 30, whatever, 33 or whatever, how old he is right now. Just going to have to get used to a defensive end wearing number 24. But outside of that, I'm really excited to see, just to have him here as a presence. Again, I'm excited for a guy like Javonte Jean-Baptiste to be able to learn from him. Yeah. That's a guy that I've had my eye on and I really like in the offseason. Just see him like take a step forward this year. And I think Von Miller can certainly help with that. just being around to be able to pick his brain. If Jean-Baptiste is a guy who is willing to put the work in and really pick his brain. Von Miller's been there, done that. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's knocking on the door of top 10 all time in career sacks. So it's a huge addition for this team. Production wise, who knows what he's going to do at this point in his career, but just as a locker room presence. And I think in small doses, he can still be super effective.
Yeah. And let's not forget Ryan Kerrigan's here too. And I think like Ryan Kerrigan plus Von Miller helping out these defensive line, edge, outside linebackers, whatever you want to call them, whoever contributes to the pass rush, I think are going to benefit greatly from the presence of Von Miller combined with the knowledge of Ryan Kerrigan.
One more thing real quick. So I just schematically, and this is maybe I'm going too deep down the hole with this, but schematically, I just feel like Dan Quinn and Joe Witt can get more out of Von Miller with their defense than what McDermott does in Buffalo. And I don't want to go too much deeper in that, but I just feel like the way they generate pressure is better than how Buffalo does it. So I feel like if we set the floor at 6, I feel like he's matching that at the very least. I don't know if he's going to get the double digits like Ali said, but at the very least, he's going to get 6. And more importantly, he's going to actually get pressure on the quarterback. So I don't even care if he only gets the 6 sacks, because I know that the pressure on the QB is just as important as the actual sack. So those sacks might, if let's say instead of getting 10 sacks, he gets 3 pressures, but one of those pressures turn into an interception. So would you rather have 9 sacks with no interceptions or 6 sacks with 1 interception? I'm taking the turnover. I'm just saying. But that's all I got to say about Von Miller for now, at least.
Yeah, I'll take either one. Honestly, both of those are good. But I watched the Philadelphia game, the second game, not the playoff game, the other day. And I watched it because Frankie Luvu was on the top 100 players list. I believe he was number 70. And with all the things that happened last year with the offense and Jaden Daniels, it is so easy to forget how good Luvu was last year. But when you watch that second Philadelphia game, that dude is a star. I mean, holy mercy. I mean, the interception, the pressures he generated, he's the one that hit Hurts, I believe. It took Hurts out the game. That guy was all over the field. I mean, Luvu is incredible. And it was really good to watch that game. I don't know if you guys remember that game, but we got down by like 2 touchdowns, and then we got a touchdown, then we got down by 3 touchdowns. And like it didn't feel like we were going to win that game at all until the fourth quarter. Yeah.
And that game, like, I'm not to go outside, sidetrack this much, but people forget we had 5 turnovers that game, and still scored 36 points. Yeah. Like when that game made me realize, like, this offense is crazy, because there's no way that they're still approaching 40 points with 5 turnovers on the Eagles defense.
Right?
What? It was crazy. That's what I remember most about that game.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is to transition to our training camp topic. And in that game, Jaden Daniels had 2 interceptions. Both were targeting Luke McCaffrey. And on the first interception, Jaden Daniels was visibly upset. It looked like with McCaffrey on that play. McCaffrey in training camp this year feels like a pretty big deal to me, right? In terms of his performance and what he shows in training camp. Eric, do you A, agree with that? And B, if so, what do you need to see, or what does the team need to see out of McCaffrey over the next couple of weeks?
So depending on the Terry McLaurin contract situation, it could be a bigger deal. If Terry's in camp, then it's not that big of a deal to me. But if you don't have your number 1 receiver, and then you're shifting to Deebo Samuel as your number 1, which is not a good thing to have. As much as I like Deebo Samuel, he's not a number 1 receiver. You need somebody on the opposite side. So if Terry's not going to be around and they can't figure something out, Luke McCaffrey has a huge opportunity in front of him. And I can't stress this enough. Luke McCaffrey was like the last pick of the 3rd round. He was basically a day 3 pick. So we shouldn't expect him to be Christian McCaffrey because he's not Christian McCaffrey. His career arc is going to be different than his brother. He's not an instant superstar. Not saying he can't develop into a positive player, but I think I've said for the better part of the last year that I think his ceiling is like a low-end number 2, high-end number 3 receiver, and I still see that. But the opportunity is there for him. There's plenty of guys in camp. They brought in Michael Gallup, but, he's been out of the league for a year. Noah Brown's coming back, but he's always getting injured. He's never played. I don't think he's ever played a full season in his career. They did bring in Deebo Samuel. They have Terry McLaurin if he's going to be around. With those 2 guys in place, there's still an opening for a number 3 receiver, and McCaffrey has the talent to fill that. It's just about him stepping up and doing that. And another year, a full off season, with the offense and working with Jaden Daniels can only be good for him. So I'm excited to see what he can do, but I'm not hopefully not going to have to pin a lot of hope on him this year. Hopefully he can still just continue to make plays when he needs to and develop, continue to develop as a 2nd-year player who was, the last pick of the 3rd round last year.
If he is bad in camp or not really a standout in camp, is there any threat to his roster security?
I don't think so this year. I don't think so this year. I'm sure there's a low-end roster spot. Playing time-wise, yeah, there's certainly a threat, but I think he still makes the team this year.
Okay.
Unless somebody clearly outplays him.
Mike.
Might be possible.
Could be possible. Mike, as the team starts to get together in camp, the saying has always been the defense is always ahead of the offense in the early parts of camp, right? Camp starts, we start getting reports. Interceptions are being thrown in camp. Mariota, Daniels, Hartman, etc. Are you going to panic when you see that information come across? Or are you sort of like, hey, they're working on new things. It's all good. Or are you one of those guys that says, I don't want to see interceptions and turnovers in camp? Where are you at with that?
Well, I don't think it's going to matter because one of the things that seems to happen with these camps is you'll get a reporter that be like, the ball never hit the ground or whatever. And I just think that's because that's just how camp is set up. Having said that, the way this defense seems to be being built on paper, I don't know if they're going to be able to force training camp turnovers because of the whistle being blown. You're not going to be able to force Daniels or Mariota or Johnson or whoever. Oh, my man Hartman. I got to say his name. I'm sorry. My man Hartman. You're not going to force them to panic and throw turnovers because you can't touch them. So if I see videos of them getting pressure, but the ball still being completed, I'll take that. And no interceptions. And yeah, I don't care if it's interceptions because that, like I said, whatever happens with them throwing the ball is probably a fluke anyway because of the inability to hit the quarterback in practice. So yeah, at the end of the day, I don't care. I'm sorry to go through a circle just to get back to that point, but I don't care.
Yeah, well, and to your point, you'll have a reporter say the ball never hit the ground, and then you have another reporter that says all the quarterbacks look terrible, and they both went through the same practice, and you're like, wait,
it's funny. That my man, I forgot his last name, David from Lockdown Commanders. He was talking about that on one of his episodes. He was saying how one reporter would be like, funny, he used McCaffrey as an example. One reporter would be like, oh, McCaffrey looked awful. But that same reporter would be like, well, McCaffrey was killing in one-on-ones today. So, yeah, that stuff does happen. So, hey, study for yourself. You got to follow us and other reporters to make sure that the stuff is matching up, especially during training camp. So, yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm just ready for the secondary to just, okay, I'm sorry to go back a second, but if the secondary is proven that they're locking these receivers up, that's when I'll care about interceptions and turnovers and training camp. But other than that, I still don't care. I tried.
Is the secondary the unit that you're going to watch the most throughout training camp?
Definitely. I'm going to say definitely. Usually we'll say offensive line, but I'm so confident in the offensive line right now. I feel like our backups might be better than some team starters. And I'm dead serious when I say that. Our second unit might be better than some team starters. But I digress because I'm going back to the secondary. I am excited for their potential, especially if Lattimore can stay healthy. If he survives the training camp with no like hamstring pulls or no rest days or anything like that, the defense's market buy high on the Washington defense if Lattimore makes it throughout the training camp. But honestly, even if he doesn't, I'm so confident in our backup cornerbacks now with Noah Igbenogany and Jonathan. Is it Jonathan Jones?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I keep mixing them up with Jonathan Joseph and Will Anderson and all whatever. But anyway, I like those two as fourth and fifth cornerbacks. And even if Lattimore isn't healthy, which I really hope he is, I still feel like this secondary can cook. But if he's healthy, forget cooking. They're feasting on any quarterback, especially, well, I'm not going to say that, but just keep that. Shut my mouth until December about the Eagles.
I think Lattimore will practice less than Von Miller does to protect that hamstring. If I start to see early
that's
reports,
crazy.
I think so. But if I start to see early reports of Lattimore with hamstring tightness, I'm just gonna be like, all right, man, I don't know what to tell you, bro. But Eric, what group are you watching the most? You're looking out for the most in training camp?
Training camp is going to be hard to judge because the group that I'm really interested in is like the front seven of the defense. How much better against the run can they be this year? I think they can be much better just based on the beef that they've added, almost at the expense of the pass rush. But I really want to. I'll be watching in preseason games really to see, those guys, those big beefy guys up front that they added, if they can really do something to stop the run, even though it's kind of the vanilla offense against vanilla defense, the talent should show. And, this team has added a ton of mid-level resources, I'll say, to the defensive line. They haven't gone top tier anywhere, but they do still have Daron Payne, who is a very good defensive lineman. And they've added a lot of guys with a long track record of just setting edges and being stout against the run. And that is needed in the division that this team plays in. So I'm really excited to see what that defensive front can do against the run game. And hopefully that'll show up early in training camp and everybody stays healthy. And we can see that translated to the regular season because stopping the run is going to be paramount this year.
Yeah. And in addition to that, just what is the rotation of the defensive players on that line too? I think it's going to be really intriguing.
Man, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Because you really can line up.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you really can line up on early downs. You can go super heavy with after Armstrong on one side, Kenlaw on the other side with Payne and Johnny in the middle. Or you can go super light with Vaughn on one side and Baptiste on the other side with Newton and Kenlaw in the middle. Like, I don't really suggest taking Payne out the game, but hey, if you need to, you can, because just like the offensive line, the defensive line is certainly deep too. And that's why, going back to Terry for a second, I know a lot of y'all are mad at Peters right now, but don't let the contract war between him and McLaurin's camp distract y'all from the fact that this man put on a masterclass at rebuilding the trenches this offseason on both sides of the ball. That's how you do it. And I understand the McLaurin contract is really frustrating and disappointing to all us, but when it comes to building a team, I'm trusting Peters over pretty much anybody else right now because he's proven that he's connected to winners. And after his first year making it to a conference championship, let that man cook.
Yep. That's you nailed it. Build in the trenches, and you saw it. The Eagles, great in the trenches, right? And that's who we got to get by. The Lions are already sustaining pretty significant injuries, but we're going to go in this camp healthy. My personal watch list is going to be the running backs. how they're used, what's the rotation, is it different at all from last year?
Yeah.
That's and usually that's what I always want to see, because I'm a big believer that you got to run the football to be good in this league, and we got to be better at running the football with our running backs this year. The tight end room, I think, is more so than any other year pretty settled in terms of the order. It's like Ertz and everybody else, basically, as far as I'm concerned. And at some point, the everybody else will be important because Ertz is getting older, like everybody knows. And who's behind him, like John Bates, and then I think what is Ben Sinnott going to be?
Colson Yankoff. Don't sleep on Colson.
Don't forget Yankoff as well.
He's another RAS guy.
And Sinnott is either I forgot or didn't realize that he had a shoulder injury that he's recovering or rehabbing from still, I think. I mentioned Dan Quinn said in the press conference earlier today. So I don't even know how healthy Sinnott is right now. And yeah, you can't depend on Zach Ertz the entire 17 games at this length of his career. Like, we're talking about Alabama that was almost out the league after his stint with Detroit in 2023. So that backup tight end is going to be important. They did spend a lot of money on Bates this offseason, so maybe they have higher hopes for him. But it's tough to trust a backup tight. A run blocking tight end to do even a quarter of what Ertz was able to do for us last season.
Yeah, Bates is a blocking tight end. That's just what he is. Whatever he gives you in the passing game is bonus. But they paid him because that's a position that you absolutely need in the NFL. But he's, if he was going to be a lead tight end, that he would have emerged at some point in that way. Prior to this, it's just not in the cards for him, and that's not a slight on him at all because he was very sought after in free agency, allegedly. So there's a lot of teams that were after his services. So for Peters to bring him back, that's huge because a blocking tight end is a huge need. And how many guys in the league can be elite pass catchers and elite blockers? Very few. You're talking about your Rob Gronkowskis, basically. And if you can be elite at one of those things, then that's fantastic. And Bates certainly is getting there on the blocking side. So anything he gives you in the passing game is just a bonus.
Yeah. Bates is essentially a sixth offensive lineman on the field with the way that he
love it.
He's Donnie Warren, baby.
That's right. Ertz actually had his best season since 2019. Think about that. In 2024, he had his best season since 2019. He hadn't had over 5 touchdowns since 2019. He had 7 last year. He hadn't had over 600 yards since 2019. He did that last year. So I think you kind of saw a peak Ertz of what you're going to get, especially at his age. Are you going to start to see some regression? I don't know. Tight end is definitely at least pass catching in the tight end game is definitely a question mark, but it's not the biggest question mark as long as Ertz is healthy, right? The wide receiver room is absolutely something we need to see. Deebo aside, because Deebo is going to have a role. He's going to be very involved, but it's going to be a very specific role. What are we outside of Terry McLaurin? Needs to be answered. Noah Brown had a really good start to the year, not dynamic by any stretch, but he was effective in getting open enough to make a reception. Not a lot of yards after the catch, so on and so forth. Not a lot of athletic plays after the catch, I'll say that. But he was good. Is he recovered from his injury, and can he contribute at a wide receiver 2 level? I don't know. We got to see. Then you have well, yeah, exactly. And then you have Jaylin Lane.
He could get injured too.
Yeah, if he was gonna, at this point in his career, he is what he is. He'll give you 7 or 8 solid games a year. Probably get injured at that point.
Right. And you have Osborne. You have Gallup. Between those two, are you going to get anything from those guys? I think you'll know early on. And then you have Lane and you have McCaffrey. My money's on Osborne. That's what I say too. But so wide receiver is still a position where I think we are a little weaker than we would like to be going into the regular season. And that's with Terry. Without Terry, our wide receiver room could be an absolute disaster. We don't know yet. But training camp's going to tell us a lot about that too. I'm excited about Lane because he's a rookie and he's really fast. Let's see what he does in camp. Let's see how he shines in camp. My comp for him was Ted Ginn Jr. Don't forget.
Nicole Hardman.
Nico Hardman. Yep, there you go. And but like for once in our life, our questions are not about the trenches and not about the quarterback. And if you have those three things, offensive, defensive line, and a quarterback, you're going to be competitive in most games, most opportunities, right? And then what you get from those other positions really determines how far you go. So a lot of things to watch out for during training camp. I want to see how the coaches are coaching in camp. Do they still have the same energy, renewed passion after last year? That's going to be really important. Did anybody get complacent with the success from last season? I don't think so, but it will be very interesting to see that. And then obviously our quarterback, Jaden Daniels, how is he continuing to grow? We'll see a little bit of that in camp. Real quick, guys, and we'll talk about this more as we approach the preseason games. How much do you guys want to see the starters play in preseason?
Oh, I hate preseason football so much. I don't really care. A series is fine. For like Jaden Daniels, they can keep him on mothballs all preseason for all I care. Give Sam Hartman full run of the offense and whoever else they brought in. Mariota too. I don't really need to see. I know what Mariota is. I know what Jaden Daniels is. Give them, a series, then put them on ice. I would rather see the young players play. I don't need to see those guys like Laramie Tunzel coming out in the preseason. Don't care. Save them for the regular season. Give them just enough to kind of whet their appetite and then get them off the field and keep everybody healthy. That's my main request for this team in the preseason.
We may not see much of them because it just dawned on me that they're having joint practices with the Patriots and the Ravens this training camp or preseason, I guess. So usually when they do joint practices, they don't play their starters too much, but I think they still ended up playing some starters last year after I forgot who we had a joint practice with, but I think they still ended up playing some starters. So I would say on average out of the 3 games, if we can get 2 series a game, so a total of 6 series for both offense and defense, I feel like that's enough that heading into the season, especially with this roster who is the oldest roster in the NFL. So you got a lot of veterans on this team who knows the intensity of the regular season. And I don't think preseason will matter too much to this specific roster. And you definitely want to try to keep Jaden Daniels as healthy as possible. So I say no more than 6 series for the entire preseason.
Yeah.
However you want to divvy that up. You can use all 6 in one game if you want, but just not more than that.
Yeah. And the preseason is shorter now, not 4 games anymore, only 3. Yeah. I'm with you guys.
Which makes me want to play them even less for some reason. I can't explain it, but it makes me want to only play them not too much.
Well, which really turns the first week of the regular season into like a 4th preseason game because you see a lot of sloppiness. And that's what happened in Tampa last year in the first game of the season. But I'm with you. Do it when it counts. I do want to see a lot of Bill Krosky Merritt, in that first preseason game to see what he has, because I have a feeling that we're going to hear a lot of reports about him shining in training camp, but I want to see him do it against other teams and see what's going on there. So, all right, Eric, final thoughts about our entrance into training camp?
We have almost made it through the dark times. Look forward to some actual news coming out and just reading daily updates. This is one of my favorite times of the year. Obviously when the season starts, it's just next level, but that first little taste of football you get in late July is always just very, very sweet. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and it gives us a lot to talk about too. Mike, what about you, man? Final thoughts on training camp getting going?
As always, just want to make sure everyone's healthy and I guess happy, but I'm just interested to see how this team comes together. I listened to Peters and Quinn's press conference this morning, and I could just sense when 2 people are locked in, especially when they're when the chemistry seems to be on point, And honestly, I've been following this team since 1990, let's say 95, 96, since I was 5 or 6 years old. Let's just say that. I can't tell y'all a better what's the word I'm looking for? A better, or the way the team is set up right now. There's never been a time where I could say that it's been better than what they have right now. And I keep mentioning this almost every other episode, but y'all don't understand. I've been through so much as a fan that I know when things are horrible and when it probably won't work out. So when you have an owner like Harris, a general manager like Peters, coach like Quinn, and quarterback like Daniels, you really can't ask for much hitting into training camp, let alone NFL season. So like I said, I know McLaurin and the contract negotiation. I understand it sucks right now. I understand. I feel it. Like I feel the damper on it. But man, we are in a great position overall. And I think we need to get ready for the season because it could be really, really fun. And I know what happened last year, but I'm telling y'all, this year can be much more fun. Get ready.
We might be playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That's what Mike said.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
And the Jaguars in the Super Bowl, calling it now.
Oh man, yeah, that would be the lowest attended Super Bowl in history. Yeah, my final thoughts are this, man. Football's back. We get to see year 2 of Jaden. And that's all that matters at this point is like his continued progression and ascension and from the top 5 to the top 3 quarterback this year in the NFL. I think we're going to see it. We got a special one. Show me what we can do with that running back room, and I'll show you a Super Bowl contender. We'll figure it out. All right, Commanders Declassified. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Tell your friend to tell some friends. Share the podcast yourself somewhere. We are out of here. Peace.